is it?
You're locked into the Flagship, an Ole Miss podcast powered by College Corner.
Here we go.
1, 2, 3.
Get your daily Rebel sports fix at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com.
Welcome to the Flagship. I'm your host, Zach Berry. Hit That Line special coming to you 2 in 1 week as we gave our kind of a little abbreviated season preview earlier in the week about Ole Miss. Talked about the biggest games, biggest roadblocks in getting to the college football playoff. If you haven't listened to that one, I encourage you to go give it a listen. We didn't do the whole schedule, but we got into the what really matters this season for Ole Miss if this team is wanting to get to where it wants to be. Before we get into the show, bring everybody on, do want to remind you, as always, brought to you each and every day by our friends at College Corner. 3 locations, Oxford, Ridgeland, Flowood. If you can't get there, go check them out, collegecornerstore.com. Podcast is also brought to you by our good friends at Rowback. If you go to rowback.com today, be sure to use promo code JUICE for 20% off. And title sponsor of the Hit That Line is our good friends at Homefield Apparel. They're back. VIP boxes sold out really quick. They are frantically trying to restock. It was record time how fast they sold out. But whenever they do, or if you just want to get the Ole Miss apparel that they already have, use promo code LASTDANCE24 for 15% off your first purchase. The VIP box, whenever it comes back in, I highly suggest getting one. They got some cool designs from 1988, 1997. So very cool stuff from Homefield. We appreciate them sponsoring the show once again. All right, without further ado, let's bring in the Legal Gambling Council. Gentlemen, it's good to be back after a landmark campaign for us last year. How we doing?
I'm positive that Nick is on mute. I'm doing great.
Yeah, we're all good. The mute button works over here.
Off to a hot start.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So last year, I mean, we absolutely blew it out the water. We had a big time picking games last year. We talked about it last week, Nick. You weren't on, but we said that we were very, very good at avoiding huge busts by multiple people each week. So that was big. And look, I mean, I think everybody had a really damn good year. So, if you didn't tail us last year, fingers crossed that we do it again. But look, we're back. It's gonna be fun. Obviously, for Ole Miss fans, 2024 is gonna be a lot of fun. So, this episode, we're gonna basically get into these win total locks. I don't have it pulled up from last year. Does anybody have? I can get it really quick. All right, so last year we had Austin was 2-1, Nick was 3-0, and then Ben and myself were both 1-2. Nick with the clean sweep, he had Akron over 4, Navy under 6.5, and then Georgia over 11.5. Which, my God,
that's a crazy bet. Over 11.5.
All ends of the spectrum there. So Austin was. I can't remember, Austin. Was it Michigan State or Mississippi State under 6.5?
Oh, it was Mississippi State. Yeah.
Okay. I just put MSU. Oregon State under 8.5, and then Tennessee under 9.5 was the only one you missed. So Ben had Florida State under 10. That obviously didn't hit. Controversial. Texas A&M over 7.5 did not hit, but he did get UCF under 7. And then myself, I was all on the Huskies all last year. They did me right, over 9.5, and then I missed on Notre Dame under 8.5 and South Carolina over 6.5. So, all right, this year we're going to kind of tweak how we do things a little bit. Last year it was always everybody picks 3 locks each week, so we had 12 for you. This year we're going to kind of do it a little bit differently, where we can kind of, almost unlimited picks. Where I don't think anyone's going to roll out 10 for you, but
Austin will.
if there's some weeks where somebody feels really good about 4 or 5, we'll give you a couple extra games. So still gonna bring you those locks. Still gonna pick winners for you, but it'll be a little bit different. So all right,
May do a weekly money line parlay too, just to rather than like some high, large spread money lines.
Dart throws. Yeah, I like it.
All right. Before we get into our locks here on win totals, just Nick, since you weren't here last week, you had the floor. Just kind of overarching thoughts on Ole Miss and the season. Pretty much last week we talked about the biggest roadblocks for a special season were LSU, Oklahoma, and Florida on the road. Georgia's a given, but we kind of chalk that up as, hey, if, you can go 11-1, you're fine. But did I miss any, guys? Those were the big 3, right? Oklahoma, LSU, and Florida just being weird on the road late. Was that it?
We talked South Carolina briefly. I mean,
yeah, okay.
That's not a layup.
No, yeah. Does that jive with you, Nick? Did we miss anything? Or if you didn't, give us some thoughts.
No, I mean that's the 3, obviously. Well, really, that's the 2. I don't necessarily agree with Florida. I think because at Florida, Ole Miss will be just coming off the Georgia game, and with a loss, I think that you've got to be locked in. So, to me, that's not a game I think Ole Miss can lose. I think Florida's going to be so deep in the ditch with that 5-game stretch. I don't know. They'll have. It's the second to last week of the year, so then they're still got Florida State at Florida State in the season. I mean, yeah, they could beat us. Don't think we're foolproof. Obviously we've got to show up, but unless we're, there's 2 options. We have a loss, in which case we've got to be locked in, or we don't have a loss, in which case we're undefeated and we're playing for like the 1 seed. So I don't foresee the Florida game being. I think that South Carolina LSU stretch is big. Not necessarily the South Carolina game by itself, but if you lose the South Carolina game, then the LSU game, is ramped tenfold because you still got LSU and Georgia on the schedule. If you beat South Carolina, still a big game, obviously, but that's kind of what you expected. So if you lose that South Carolina, that LSU is now just a huge game. So, but I was thinking we could discuss Ole Miss's weaknesses maybe for the next half hour because I don't see any on the entire team. I don't see anything.
Okay, so I've had people ask me this over and over, and Ben, Austin, we might have touched on it last week. We've probably talked about it in the chat, in the group text, but the only question mark I truly have for Ole Miss is the offensive line, and not because I don't think that the group is capable. I just think finding the right 5 is crucial because I do think there is a path to all 5. I'm not saying they're all going to go to the NFL, but all 5 could be really damn good. And I think it's key to, is Jerquan Scott the guy for center instead of, Caleb Warren? Is Diego Pounds a left tackle, or should he slide inside and then you play Jaden Williams? What do the 2 Washington guys fit in? I think both of them are NFL caliber dudes, but where do they fit in this group? So I think Garrison has a tough task on just finding the right grouping.
Yeah, but have we ever had 8 guys who can play on the line like we do this year?
No.
222 career starts for our O-line.
That's the most. Absurd. You said it's the most since they started tracking it?
Yeah, that's the most.
Like the most experienced O-line in the history of college football.
Ever.
I mean, that makes sense. That's at 5 guys. That's 45 or 44 games a person. So that's
and there's
3+ years of starting for every single player.
And somebody, Nick, you would probably know this off the top of your head. They are all seniors or 5th-year seniors or COVID seniors. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So they're all 22, 23.
Yeah, they're grown.
That's a big help.
Mm-hmm.
So that meshes with what Kiffin's done through the portal, right? It's always been experienced guys that are older, mixed with the high school guys that you have.
It's the same thing on the defensive line. I mean, looking at JJ Piggies is in his 4th year. I guess Walter Nolan's like the young buck, and that's a top 10 pick possibly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even the backups on the defensive line are seasoned too. Like you got Akilo Stone, Xavier Harris, assuming he gets back into action at some point.
Is the Peach Bowl defensive player of the game starting?
Who's
Is
that?
he a starter?
Who? Jared Ivey?
Jared Ivey. Yeah.
Ivy.
Is he starting?
I think starters on the defensive line.
No. I'm asking. Like, I'm saying it's a good thing. Like, does he even? We have so many good players. Do we know that he's starting?
The top 8 rotation.
I think he'll be starting. Yeah. I think he'll be opposite Princely.
And it may be a matchup thing, guys. It may be like, if somebody tries to go run heavy on us, maybe you throw Ivy out there.
More.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Sunterra Perkins. I mean, I feel like he's a guy that, I don't know. I mean, I'm not Pete Golding or whatever, but that's a player that should never come off the field. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We got to find a way to use him because he's so good. Like,
I trust Pete. I don't want him to turn into our Harold Perkins, where we're going. If you had just used him correctly, we could have racked up 12 tackles last game or whatever.
It kind of reminds me, hell, we were talking about this last week. I rewatched that 08, or I guess it was the 09 Cotton Bowl, and just looking at that defense and how good it was and how loaded, and I just kept I still am mad at Houston Nutt and that staff for telling Alan Walker that you have to beef up, because he was a fringe NFL talent as a safety.
Yeah.
And, he got to campus, and I remember talking to Alan because I've known him my whole life playing baseball. And I remember talking to him outside Deaton, and I was like coming back from Johnson Commons, and he was like, "Oh man," he's like, "the food there's so good." He's like, "Man, I eat with the football team, and then I have to go eat there." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Man, they want me to gain weight."
He got slow because of it, or too slow.
Yeah. I mean, he was too heavy. Like he wasn't as. I mean, when he was in high school, he was a freak. I mean, he was everywhere. He was a Derek Pegues.
And he was still a great player in college. He just ate his way out of his position.
Yeah. I mean, I think C.J. Johnson, it was mostly because of the injury where he was limited. But when he was like an actual inside linebacker, he was pretty special. Now, he grew into that end position and was really good. But, I mean, Austin said it, Akilo Stone's a backup. I mean, that's a very, very seasoned guy that's played a lot of football. So that's good for that room. I mean, I think Cam Franklin and William Eccles are going to play. I think Jamarius Brown's going to play. And look,
man, I think Brown may start. And if he doesn't, it may be a courtesy to some of the older guys who've earned, their starting roles. But from a pure talent standpoint, I'm not sure that we have a better interior guy than Brown right now. Maybe Nolan gets there and becomes the guy that we think he is, but Brown has been the talk of camp from everybody.
Yeah, I mean, when he signed, I know a lot of people questioned it because, he's a 3-star, undersized, whatever. But, I mean, the dude played at Pahokee. They play good football down there. And, I mean, he had he had 20-plus sacks and, something crazy tackle for loss numbers. At some point, it's just the dude knows how to play. Yeah. The dude just makes plays. So
is Austin saying that Jamarius Brown is better than Walter Nolan? Is that?
Yeah, I didn't hear that. That was
what I said. Is I think he's had a better camp.
Did he? Yeah. Did he play at Moss Point?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah.
Let's go see a redshirt.
That's Mississippi State stronghold. I feel like going down there and getting him.
Yeah,
I was talking about DJ Holmes. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's from Pahokee. Yeah. Jam Brown's from Moss Point. Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah. No, look, I think if Nolan gets anywhere close to his potential, if he maximizes his potential, he's potentially a top 10 pick. So I don't know that Brown is that guy. I just mean this camp, you hear Brown's name more, and it could just be based on expectation that Brown is overachieving relative to his expectation, right? That may be why he's been mentioned more, but
put them out there together.
I think he's a monster. Yeah.
I mean, 6'1", 315, that's like Poe, man. That's like a bowling ball in there.
I was gonna say he's like a hybrid Isaac Gross, Jarrell Poe.
Mhm.
Like not as tall as you would like him to be, but pretty thick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he played in 4 games last year, so he got the red shirt. But yeah, I mean he was sneaky. One of the best players in Mississippi as a senior. He had 293 career tackles in high school. Was a dandy. That's hard to do as a defensive lineman.
As a
That's a lot.
tackle, yeah.
It's hard to do as a linebacker.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, he had. He's also a hell of an athlete. I know I've talked with the staff about that. They rave about his athleticism. He had 18 rushing touchdowns in high school. So like he's not just a defensive guy. He's got some skill to him. But it's a good problem to have on both. The trenches basically. It's a good problem to have all these guys where you have to figure out a way to play them on offensive line and defensive line. So,
well, circling back to your point about O-line, finding the right 5. Apparently, Scott is a little banged up right now. I don't know that we're breaking any news here, but I don't know that he's out there for the first game, and he may not be out there in week 2 either.
Yeah, what he rolled an ankle or something, I guess, in like the scrimmage over the weekend.
Yeah. Who are we talking about?
Jerquan Scott.
Well, we got 100 offensive linemen,
Yeah. And I think there's plenty of options there as well, because I do think Bryson Sanders is pushing both Scott and Caleb Warren for center. I mean, he's the future center. I mean, you watch game warm-ups before game, he's the one that's snapping to Austin Simmons. Read into that what you want, but yeah, I mean he and I saw him at Juice Fest, and it looks like he ate high school Bryson Sanders. Like he is enormous. I mean, I'm not a big guy, but it was pretty daunting to stand next to him.
Also, Austin Simmons has a cannon, by the way.
Yes.
I mean, has to be the strongest arm on the team.
Some special arm talent. It's effortless too. I mean, he looks like he's just flicking it around out there. And
he kind of looks like Tua, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The lefty action.
Yeah. He it was pretty good. Break for Ole Miss that he didn't have any lingering effects from the Tommy John, which I know it's a different motion, so it shouldn't affect it. But
you can throw a football without a UCL probably.
He's a little bigger than Tua, isn't he?
He's bigger.
Oh yeah.
Definitely taller. Yeah, Nick, we talked about, and look, I don't want to open this. I don't know. This can of worms is going to be open probably every other week for Ole Miss, but we did mention the Florida game just because of what that's going to be talked about that whole week. I don't know. We briefly touched on it. I want to get your thoughts. We have discussed this plenty. I don't really know if Florida is that good of a job anymore or that much better of a job than Ole Miss just because of how weird it is.
I mean, I don't know what else he could want other than location in terms of the Florida players are closer to the University of Florida. But past that, I mean, Ole Miss giving him everything he wants. I don't think that it matters. Like look around at where these guys are from. Other than Scott, who came from USM, we periodically will get a guy. I mean, almost had a transfer cornerback from MSU, and I guess this linebacker that we brought in today is kind of from MSU, but these guys are not local. It doesn't matter. I mean, the guys they're going to be transferring into Florida are going to be transferring from FAU and from Charlotte and from Old Dominion and Bowling.
Princely left there for Ole Miss.
What's that? Oh yeah, exactly. I just don't think it. I don't think it matters. I mean, if we have
and another player almost did, but
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
if we have deep enough pockets to get these guys, I don't see, and over Florida, then I don't. I just don't. Yeah, I mean, he might do it. He may do it, but I just.
I'll say this:
I think there was a time
if the portal and NIL wasn't a thing, then I could see it.
Sure.
there was a time where we paid $2.5 million and Florida paid $7.5 million, and that's no longer the case. I think we may actually pay more than them now. I'm not saying they couldn't pay more than us, but at some point you just stop paying more. I mean, at some point, 10 million is kind of the ceiling, and once you're paying that, I think other podcasts said this before. You virtually priced out all but maybe 5 or 6 jobs, and the only reason you take those 5 or 6 jobs is because it's Alabama, Ohio. I mean, we can name them: Ohio State, Texas. There are jobs that you would leave us for. Am I sitting here saying that Ole Miss is a better job than Florida? No, I'm not. But like, there's also a lot more into this than just let's go to Florida to try to win a national championship. And we talked about this last time. If you can get it done at Ole Miss, why do you leave to go somewhere else to start over?
Start the clock over.
And your non-conference games include Miami and Florida State.
Yeah,
so
FSU
it's
every year.
Harder route.
And in conference Georgia every year.
In Georgia every year.
That's right.
Yeah.
I kind of think of it like almost like an NFL job. So like, yeah, obviously DeBoer went to Alabama. I think that's one of like the 4 or 5 jobs that are the next echelon. But kind of think about NFL jobs. How often do you see an NFL coach go from like the Packers to the Jets? I mean, this doesn't happen. Every single head coaching job in the NFL is filled by what? An assistant on another team. You do that because their jobs are equal in terms of like, yeah, Florida may not be a worse job than us, certainly, but I just, other than Ohio State, Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, maybe Texas.
Yeah.
I think after that, I think there's just like a tier of like 20. And I would even put maybe even like someone like Missouri in there. I know that's crazy, but if they can, find a way to pay Drinkwitz like $11 million, then he's not going anywhere. In the same way that Bill Belichick didn't leave the Patriots to go for another job, he got fired before he went somewhere else. So I think it's all the same level.
10 years ago, you'd do it. I mean, you would do it. But in the age of NIL, the way that players can transfer so quickly now, it's just a complete – my prediction is that – I mean, and of course, he could take it, but I think it's more likely that he waits for an NFL offer, and then he takes that. That would be his next.
You know he wants another crack at it.
Yeah, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, what was he, 32 when he got the Raiders job?
He's 50 now. He's 49 now.
Yeah.
He's been here a long
crazy.
time. I know.
So right now, just because we brought it up, Ole Miss pays Lane Kiffin $2.2 million more than Napier gets. According to this right here, it says Napier will earn $7.3 million in 2024, and Kiffin's getting $9.5.
Kiffin's getting $750,000, or actually closer to $800,000 a month.
That is so much damn money.
Anything north of $12 million is play money. I mean, they're not.
Yeah.
But the difference between 12 and 14 is like, well, I got to move all my crap. Like, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Miami might be a job that he would take. I don't know that it's Florida, and that's only because of location. Only because Gainesville is not South Beach.
To play devil's advocate, I don't think Cristobal will fail enough for him to get fired there.
I think Miami's going to be pretty good this year. I
do too.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, of jobs he would take, you could probably throw that one in with the Blue Bloods.
Just specific to him, I agree with that. I can see
this may sound silly. The only thing I think Florida has that Kiffin wants is Jordan. They have Jumpman.
Oh yeah, he's not doing that for Jumpman.
And look, if he wins enough at Ole Miss, Jordan might just do it.
I mean, yeah, if you're in the playoff this year, then
look, I'm not.
I don't.
We talked a lot about. I guess it was in the news this week that certain SEC programs may not make the cut in the event of conference realignment happening the next 5-10 years. I don't know that this would factor into Kiffin's calculus, and I doubt that Miami would be left in the cold. But do you take the Miami gig if there is no ACC in 2 years before the major realignment has actually happened?
No.
That's another good point because Ole Miss is in like the conference. It's pretty much just SEC Big Ten now. Like Big 12's out there, ACC's out there, but it's not even remotely close.
And like I said, I don't think Miami's going to be on the outside looking in. I think somebody will pick them up whenever it's time to shit or get off the pot. I think somebody.
But I think that somebody's the Big 12. I don't think it's one of the Big 2. I think what we're moving towards is a Big 2, but then like a really solid third conference in the Big 12. And I think Miami will do. I don't see the SEC taking them. I don't see the Big 10 taking them.
No, I don't think the SEC has any.
Y'all think in 15 years we're gonna regret having done this and been like, go back to not that will ever happen, but we wish we could go back to just the Pac-10, the Big 12, the Big 10, the ACC, the SEC like it was. I know we're all making a lot more money. The schools are. I'm just saying from a competitive standpoint.
Tell me what our record is, and I'll tell you whether I regret it or not. Look, if we sustain success, fuck it, right? I don't care.
Yeah,
but
same. Yeah.
If we're 6-6, if it becomes the Ed Orgeron years all over again, then maybe
the next hire is critical. I don't know that Kiffin's going to go anywhere. Maybe he does. I don't know, but let's just say he does. This year, let's say we make the playoff, make the semifinal, and lose, and he takes the. I don't think he's leaving him. He'd have to go to the NFL, but say he does. The next hire is so critical for us. I mean, I'm talking about for like maintaining status in the realignment. I'm talking because it can be gone so quickly. Like look at Auburn. Look at Arkansas. Arkansas 10 years ago with Petrino or 15 years ago, however long it's been now, they were going to like sugar bowls. And now Arkansas can't win a conference game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean,
everything, time is a flat circle. Everything, moves in cycles. Everybody's, a lot of people are up, LSU in the 90s sucked. Early, late 90s, early 2000s, Alabama, terrible. So it's all, it's all going to, come back around at some point.
It just sucks that we weren't good when everybody decided to create who the blue blood programs were.
95.
Like people still talk about Nebraska. They have sucked literally my entire adult life.
Yeah.
They still talk about them. This year Nebraska is going to be good. Then they'll play good against somebody and be like, oh, they're back. Then they get railed by North Dakota State.
I think this is right. I think Nebraska has the longest bowlless streak in the Power Four. I think that's right.
Probably.
How long is it? What, about 7 years?
I think it's 7 or 8 years. Yeah, they haven't bowled in 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, but Austin, they've sold out. But Austin, they've sold out every game for like 100 years. So
right, yeah, and cool, and volleyball.
Yeah, which volleyball's cool. No shade on that, but yeah, I mean, Nebraska, the mileage that they've gotten out of Tom Osborne and Tommy Frazier's '95 team is
and the black shirts.
It's bonkers, man. I mean, you had that spunky year with Eric Crouch. Which
that's their only modern day decent year or modern era decent season this millennium.
They had what, the 3-year stretch with Bo Pelini, and then they
3 or
fired
4, yeah.
I mean, what are they doing? They're going 8-4. Like, what are we talking about?
And he won like 10 games, I think. Yeah.
Now they won 9 or more 3 years in a row, and then they fired
him. I think that's right, and they fired him.
And because he had Ndamukong Suh, they went to the conference title game. Okay, yeah, so he went 9-4, 10-4, 10-4, 9-4, 10-4, 9-4, 9-3, and they fired him.
So, hey, look, talk about regrets. Do you think their fans regret going from the Big 12 to the Big 10?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know the money is different in this neighborhood. I get it, but they could have won the Big 12 every other year.
I mean, I know that.
Also, the Big 12 is totally different. And I think the Big 12 is still intact with Texas and Oklahoma if they stay.
If Nebraska stays.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, they would have plugged. I don't think they cared a lot about Missouri, and they would have plugged Texas A&M with somebody, and that would have been that. I think Nebraska was a decent part of the fact that the North was so bad in the Big 12. They kind of had to do something. I think Texas, Oklahoma is still over there. So they're that money that, you talk about the Gulf, it probably doesn't exist or is not quite nearly as big.
So yeah, Bo Pelini, 67-27 and 39-17 in conference, and
They would
fired.
kill for that now.
He went to a bowl game every year.
Dude, we still get shit in certain corners about firing Cutcliffe. You never hear Nebraska get shit on for this, ever.
I don't. It's
You don't
significantly
hear
better
them catch anything ever. They just just like it's like Notre Dame hype, except they don't live up to it. Notre Dame
like cheerleaders.
we make fun of them, but they go to the playoff a lot, and
right.
they win games. Nebraska gets the same hype, and then they fizzle out every year. Like about every third year, they'll rank Nebraska in the preseason. They'll be like, oh, they're 22nd or 23rd. It's like, how? They've been recruiting the 70th ranked class every year. What are we doing?
And just in case you forgot or you thought it was a fluke or well, it's just Bo Pelini he was at Nebraska at the right time. Now in year 2 at Youngstown State, he went 12-4 and went to the championship.
Mm-hmm.
So
is he coaching anywhere now?
No,
I don't think so.
he is not.
You gonna do some win totals?
Do some win totals. Would y'all like me to start it off, or how do we want to do it? We want to do alphabetical?
Whatever, man.
Yeah, Austin, go.
All right. Well, since we're talking about him, shout out to our boy Mike Singer over at what's it called? Irish Illustrated. Is it
blue and gold?
There you go. Blue and gold. Notre Dame, 10.5 is the number. Under.
Yeah.
I thought you were
okay.
going
I wanted to pick this
way.
one too. I shouldn't have said Austin. Go ahead.
Under. They just lost their left tackle for the season. They'll be starting a true freshman, I think, over there, a redshirt freshman, a guy who's not ready.
You said it was 10.5?
10.5.
Have you seen their schedule? This is not attainable.
The schedule is not crazy tough, but they have 3 losses on the schedule. Week 1 is an L now. Yeah, week 1 is an L now. Without that left tackle.
Week one. Sorry.
Week 1, yeah. Facing A&M.
I was thinking you mean this week against Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Well, that's
facing A&M. Yeah. I just don't think Notre Dame can block A&M. I'm not certain that they can block Florida State. I don't know if they can block Louisville without the left tackle. I'm really confident in the A&M game. I'm probably going to lock that in whenever it's time for that, because as most of you will probably know, Mike Elko coached Riley Leonard, Notre Dame's new quarterback at Duke. You don't think he knows his game? I mean, I think Mike Elko knows Leonard's strengths and weaknesses probably better than Notre Dame staff does at this point. So I expect A&M to completely shut down Notre Dame's offense. I think Notre Dame's a really good defense, but I'm just not sure that they're going to be able to score with the losses on offense. I like Leonard as a quarterback. I just don't know that he's an elite quarterback. I think he's a guy that can get it done with his arms and legs, and he played pretty well at Duke, but he's not an elite passer. He's just sort of an athlete playing that position. So you're asking for 11 wins to beat me? I don't see that.
That's a good pick.
I really like that pick, and
There's no way you're getting to 11.
You talked about the schedule. I think that's a tough schedule. Well, in that there's 3 automatic losses, and so there's no. I think you're safe at. I mean, it's almost a 9.5 under for me, because if they slip up against anybody else, and which Notre Dame is prone to do in certain years. I mean,
yeah, well, look, certain years, Ben, have we forgotten? They lost to Marshall last year. They lost to Stanford.
Yeah.
They go to Purdue. They got Louisville at home. I think they're 1-1 in those 2.
Oh, I did too. Yeah. Yeah.
And
they have FSU.
Louisville's going to be good.
Louisville's going to be good. They have FSU as well, right? And they have USC in addition to A&M.
Yeah.
There are 2 losses in that group. Come on.
Yeah, agree.
2 losses? Yeah.
10.5 crazy. What's the juice on that?
I see over 10.5 is plus 142 at FanDuel.
So minus is got to be about 160 or so.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think, look, that's
not bad at all.
Look, I would take it at 10. If you want to give me 120 on 10 flat, I'd take under 10 flat.
No, do the 10.5. That's fair. All right, I'll go.
Yeah, if you can get it on the book, do it.
I am going to South Carolina, and I'm going to take the Clemson Tigers to go under 9 wins this year. They have a deadly schedule. They play Georgia in the non-conference. They play at Florida State, at Virginia Tech, and at Pitt. Okay, they would have to win all of those to be able to. Well, they have to. They can go 1-3, I guess, and cover this. But I don't know. I'm not seeing 9 total. Go ahead, Nick.
Is it 9? You said?
Yeah, 9 is minus 115.
Okay.
Yeah, the DraftKings.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What are you taking the over?
No, I could see a push. That's why I asked if it was 9 or 9.5.
Yeah, it's 9. Yeah, and I'm playing. Frankly, I'm playing the safe play here. I think 9-3 is the likely outcome. That's too many hard road games. Now they're home games. They do have to host NC State. They do get Stanford at home, but Stanford's not going to be good. They play Louisville also. Look, and they host South Carolina. And let's be honest, South Carolina beat them last year. I just don't like. I don't love that schedule for them. I think all of their hardest games are on the road. It's kind of like the schedule that Ole Miss had or used to have. Like when you play at Alabama, it's an automatic loss. You almost want to catch them in the right year. At 9 game at a 9 here, they would have to. Let's say they lose to Georgia, at Florida State, and at one of Pitt or Virginia Tech, and we've already pushed. They still have South Carolina and host Louisville. I'm going to take 9 under.
Yeah, I think like a best case for them is 10-2. So 9's great.
It's not as safe as Notre Dame. I mean, literally, those were my 2 favorite picks. Notre Dame was my favorite pick on the board. Well, not my favorite. My favorite is our rival, but we'll get to that.
You can have that one.
I'll say this. I think Cade Klubnik is going to continue to underachieve.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna miss Will Shipley more than they think they will. Phil Maffa is good, but I think Shipley was a really good piece of that offense, and he did a lot of things well. And just a quick quiz here for the council. Name me a wide receiver at Clemson that's not Murphy Holloway's stepson. You can't. I mean, I know that they got a transfer, but I don't know his name. I know the transfer is supposed to be good.
T. Higgins.
Hunter Renfrow.
Sammy Watkins.
Wait, it's not even Hunter Renfrow. What's the dude's name?
Yeah, you're right.
Hunter Renfrow.
That's right.
Was
there were
it?
2 Hunter Renfrows, one at State and one at Clemson.
I mean, y'all know how it's been for the past decade. They always had NFL dudes.
Yeah.
And
for a while they were wide receiver U for like 2-3 years. Yeah.
And I think Antonio Williams is good. But
Dabo Pete before NIL, dude. This is not his
big talent.
This is not his game.
Not his game.
He also benefited greatly with 2 generational talents at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That happens.
And I told everybody that would listen, I told everybody I knew, and I will pat myself on the back until the day I die. When Brent Venables left, I was like, that's it. It's a wrap. Because not only Venables, because he recruited all those monsters they had on defense for years, but then also Jeff Scott and what's his name? They had the 2 co-coordinators on
Tony, whatever.
Tony Elliott.
Yeah.
Those 2 dudes were cooking. And not only do you get Trevor Lawrence, who was a freak, you get Deshaun Watson, who a freak literally and figuratively. But yeah, after that, I mean, the fall off was so tough. And like, I don't know. I mean, I think everybody thought like, oh, Klubnik, like, he was great in high school. They're not going to skip a beat. Like he's really been mediocre.
Yeah, he didn't have it. And look, Ben didn't mention week 3. NC State could beat Clemson at Clemson.
Yeah. They're saying this might be NC State's best team.
Yeah.
Since 2017 when they had, Dan Bradley Chubb and that D-line was loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that pick. And it's not just because I'm married to someone that went to South Carolina. I do think the end is near for Dabo just because he's so hard-headed.
NC State, by the way, is juiced heavily on over 8.5. So they think they're a 9+ win team out in Vegas.
Y'all realize our over 10.5, like the Ole Miss Rebels over 10.5, is just plus 200.
Yep.
Yeah.
If that tells you anything about how they feel about the Rebs.
Yeah, I like it.
I mean, 200. That's.
I mean, in years past, that'd been like plus 1,000.
1,000.
Off the board.
You could probably walk up to the book and be like, "You just tell me."
We're not taking that. Yeah.
You tell me. You make the odds.
Yeah, they tell you to go on and go to the Wendy's on the Strip. Like, bro, get out of here. Just don't mess with the ATM. Don't move it off the wall. All right,
Zach or Nick?
All right, let me switch it up a little bit. I don't think anybody's going to have a ton of stuff to say on this one, other than you should take a look at their schedule and bet this. Yukon is juiced slightly. I can see it somebody's got it at 110. I think they're looking more like 125, minus 125, minus 130 or so for over 4.5. It's Jim Moore's third season in Stores / East Hartford. They have 7 home games, which is pretty atypical for somebody like Yukon, but bear with me. They play Mary Mac. Okay. So now we just need 4 wins. They play Mary Mac. Yeah, the song. And they play UMass at the end of the season. So now we need 3 wins. They've got Temple, who is there's only 11 teams on the Vegas win total board with fewer expected wins. Temple is one of those, as is, let me see, Buffalo. Okay, so I've got 2 easy wins and I've got 2 really bad teams. I'm at 4, and I've got to win 1 game between FAU, Rice, who they beat last year at Rice, and Georgia State.
So it's over 4.5.
It's over 4.5.
Okay.
And I mean that's not talking about they go to UAB. I know Protective Stadium there is a tough place to play, but again, I need one of somebody like Rice again, who they beat last year, Georgia State, who's not good, UAB, FAU. I mean, they're winning 5 games. That's all there is to it. That's a good schedule. I know you're seeing it, Austin. I know you.
I'm looking. It is atrocious. Like Temple may be the worst team in like the last 10 years in college football. Like Temple's going to be terrible.
Temple's going to be terrible.
They might go 0-12.
They're juiced plus 115 at over 2.5 on Temple.
I go under. Yeah, you go under.
You're
actually now that I see the schedule. Okay.
The schedule's crazy. I'm sorry. They play. There's only 11 teams below them in the win totals. Like if you're looking, straight down, and they play 3 of them. So really impressive scheduling by UConn's AD. It must be Danny Hurley up there. He's doing the opposite of scheduling for basketball.
That's crazy.
All right, let me go ahead and get this before somebody else does. Notes here. All right. Yeah. Double check to make sure the number is correct. 5.5. We are going to one of my favorite places on earth, and that is Boulder, Colorado. And we are going under 5.5.
I almost looked at the over on this. I think they're bowling. They're bowling.
Yeah.
You know how you bowl.
Bowling in Boulder.
It's exactly how you bowl.
Cricket or like lanes?
They're bowling both of them, both ways.
Right, they'll probably be bowling somewhere in December because they won't be playing a game.
They're using bowls.
So North Dakota State, maybe they win that opener, but that's who the hell scheduled that? That is stupid as hell.
That's a crazy scheduling. I mean, they must be North Dakota State must be paying them to come there.
Yeah. We were talking about Nebraska earlier. All jokes aside, I think Matt Rule is a good coach, and Colorado whipped them last year. They have that one circled. And then even if Colorado wins both of those, you have to find 4 more wins against the likes of Kansas State, which is a no, Utah, which is a no, Arizona, probably a no, Kansas, no, Oklahoma State, probably no, unless Ollie Gordon is like sawed in half or something. And that's like all Big 12, that's all conference games. So that leaves Texas Tech, Baylor, UCF, and Cincinnati, which I think UCF could get them, and I think Texas Tech could get them. I'm fading Deion Sanders so damn hard this year. I think the bit is up. Like, no one gives a shit anymore. Look, Shador might be a pretty good quarterback. I don't think he's 1-1 like all these psychos are saying. But dude, they could not run the football last year. The staff, they had a staffer, they had a guy leave last week that was just basically like, I'm out, I'm done, I'm not doing this. Firing Sean Lewis, why the hell would you do that? The dude did wonders at Toledo. He was a really good coach. I think that he's in over his head, and I think he knows after this year he's gone no matter what. And I think that at some point, like as Nick Saban used to say, like somebody's going to make his ass quit, and he's just going to mail it in. The schedule's hard, and this isn't just like Deion Sanders' hate session. The schedule is tough, and I don't think Shador and Travis Hunter can do everything. They're probably going to be counting on a true freshman to start at left tackle. Their running back's gone. He's at Kansas State now. The defense was atrocious last year. There's no way it's gotten that much better. I don't know. Nick says they could be bowling. Yeah, maybe they get to 6 somehow, but I feel pretty good about under 5.5.
Yeah, a few things I like about it. One, they downgraded significantly at offensive coordinator, as you said. Sean Lewis left. Pat Shermer's in there. I think he sucks. He's terrible. Their defensive coordinator is a first-time defensive coordinator in college, right? I think he was an NFL position coach, but I don't think he's ever been a coordinator before. The other thing I love about this, I think the first sign, I think they're a talented team. I think they're talented enough to go over 5.5. I think their culture is horrible, though. I think the first sign of adversity, who there is going to fight and scrap to get to 6 wins?
No, they don't care.
These guys, hell no. After Utah claps those cheeks, they're done, man. Like Sanders, he might not even play him for the rest of the year in order to get ready for the draft. Like, would it shock you if Deion pulled him?
No. This all seems
crazy
like a
would that
charade
be
for Shador's benefit.
Yeah,
Exactly.
to go. How crazy would that be if midway he was like, "We're shutting him down"? Like, I can't. Now that you say it, it never even occurred to me. That would be insane. That'd be awesome. That'd be really
if that happens, he will talk Travis Hunter into shutting it down.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No.
That's like
your two most talented guys. Yeah. So then your 2 most talented guys are on the shelf or at minimum on autopilot for the rest of the season, trying not to get hurt. Your 2 leaders in the locker room, are guys going to play their ass off to win 6 games for those guys? I don't think so, man. I don't see it.
This is where the talking heads are right with transfer portal culture, where a coach like Deion who doesn't care.
Yep.
Deion is there for Deion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they sell hoodies with Prime and his signature on it. It has like a tiny little Colorado logo. It's all about him. He doesn't care about anybody else. That culture in that locker room with all of those transfers, yeah, when it goes to shit, like it's gonna get bad. Yeah. And I mean, they are gonna get tagged by Utah. They are going to get tagged by Nebraska. I will.
That's at Nebraska, right?
Yeah, because
they Nebraska. Yeah,
embarrassed them last year. They're going to be pissed. Yeah. I think Kansas State will whip them. I think Kansas is going to be good again with Jalen Daniels at quarterback, and I think UCF is sneaky going to be good this year. I think Gus has got a really good thing going. Yeah, I'm talking myself into this more and more. I think it's going to get ugly.
Texas Tech is not a gimme at Texas Tech.
Joey McGuire is a damn good coach, and he's going to figure it out. Now they'll give him all of these Big 12 games will be in dog fights in every single one of them.
Yeah, that's the other thing that Deion does. He does them no favors because every team circles the Colorado game just to rub their noses in it.
Yeah. So, all right, do we want to snake draft this? Swing back around.
Yeah,
that's fine.
So we this will come as no surprise to anybody who listened to our last pod.
Wait, snake draft means that goes again, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Damn.
I'm probably not. I'm probably not getting what you're getting.
This is Aurora Boris. Is that what it's
Yeah, I'm gonna grab Missouri under 9.5. Just solely on a gut here, I think they're gonna regress.
I was going to do it on principle myself.
Yep.
I think Cody Schrader was a dog for them last year.
Walter Nolan didn't transfer into no Missouri. They didn't have this ain't it's a fool's gold, man.
I think
They don't play but 3 ranked teams though, and at A&M, at Bama, and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma's at home.
look they
Obviously, I understand that.
They miss Georgia, they miss Texas, they miss Ole Miss, they miss LSU.
Do they play
Well, if
Tennessee?
they beat Oklahoma, you gotta find another loss. No, they don't play Tennessee. It's Murray State, Buffalo, BC, Vanderbilt. That's a rough non-conference schedule. They all are, and including Vanderbilt. They've also got UMass, Auburn, at South Carolina, at MSU, and then Arkansas. Not mentioning those other 3 that I mentioned as well.
I just have a weird feeling that I think they're going to regress. I think Cody Schrader was really good for them last year and really helped Brady Cook and helped them have some balance. I think people are going to bracket the hell out of Luther Burden. And I don't know. I just got a weird feeling. I think that the defense, Baker's gone. He was a huge part of that success.
And like 4 dudes to the NFL, right? Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, they, huge high at the end of the year, beating Ohio State, which it was a shell of a team that was playing them, but it still counts. I don't know. I think they could lose to A&M. They could lose to Alabama, and getting a shootout with Oklahoma. I think they could lose to Oklahoma.
To your point, I wish I still had the stat. I can't find it anymore, but they were like the luckiest team in the country last year. Their turnover luck was really high. It's just like some regression is just expected. I mean, if I told you that Hugh Freeze went up there with Auburn and beat them, does that stun you?
No.
I don't think Missouri is like so talented that like even Auburn couldn't beat them. I think
Hugh Freeze could go up there and beat them by like 17 points and nobody'd be surprised.
No, not a bit.
I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying that they didn't show.
They're playing Bama the next week, and everyone's gonna be talking about like that big matchup probably, and then Auburn just goes up there and just like mucks it up and is like 20.
Auburn's got a bye before Mizzou too.
Yeah.
This purely off vibes here. I just think they're going to take a step back. I think Drinkwitz is a good coach. I think they're going to, they're not going anywhere. They're going to be solid.
Can we do this? Can we just say like Drinkwitz is just fine? Like, I don't think he's not as bad as I thought he would be, and God knows he's a fucking dork.
Agreed.
But like,
Agreed.
I don't think he's excellent either. Like,
They're kind of crowding him a little bit.
There's a lot of recency bias here. A lot of recency bias. Like, he was very mid his first couple of years.
Oh, he got crowned hard last year.
Quick, very quick.
He also got crowned, but like think back to that Cotton Bowl with Ohio State. If Ohio State plays like any
of their guys, yeah.
They beat them. And are we crowning Missouri at all because they ended their season with 3 games over Tennessee, Florida, and Arkansas? And
if their kicker doesn't make a 60-yard field goal or whatever against K-State, are we crowning Mizzou?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you could do this with everybody's schedule. I get it. I'm just saying, they weren't dominant against anybody.
All right.
No, you're absolutely right.
Nick.
All right, let me go back. Well, I'm going to keep it in the SEC. I'm keeping it in what used to be the East, if you guys don't mind. Then I'm going to go over, and it's juiced heavily. So if you guys want me to go to 3, I will. I'm going to go over 2.5 for Vanderbilt. I'm seeing it at minus 190. It's very juiced. If I need to go over 3, I will, because I mean 3 is just a split. But they've got Virginia Tech obviously to start. That's going to be a tough one, but it is in Nashville. They got Alcorn State, and this is a tricky one. They go to Georgia State. I wish that was in Nashville instead of Atlanta, because I
imagine contemplating that.
I think that the old Turner Field, the old Olympic Centennial Stadium, is a tough place to play. People underestimate it, but I wish that it was in Nashville. Obviously, I'd feel more confident about that second win. They've also got Ball State, also in Nashville. I just got to get 3, and one of them is Alcorn. they've got Georgia State, Ball State. Past that, things get a little hairy because their probable best wins chances in the SEC are South Carolina and Auburn at home, and maybe at Kentucky. So you don't like when you've got three sort of kind of possible chances to win and two of them are on the road. But I think they're going to win 3 non-conference games. Ultimately, I think that before they go to Missouri, we can feel pretty good about them already having 2 wins. And I don't think their Ball State's going to be anything special. So 2.5. I just think, Ball State's over under right now. I'm seeing it as 3.5. That's disrespectful to Vanderbilt. Like they're still SEC players, even if in name only.
Some, yeah. No,
they have an SEC player.
Yep.
See
they have an SEC for sure.
You see the picture I just sent of the stadium?
It looks good.
It looks good. It looks way too good for Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss the open end zone with the berm. Lack of a better word.
Wait, is that end zone or is it the other end zone?
I think that is the other end zone, like closer to camp, like closer to the baseball stadium. I think.
Yeah, that is. That's the end zone, not with the hotel in it. The one with the hotel in it is also going to be similar, but it's not going to be. I don't think it has the big video board.
Was that the Embassy Suites?
Yes.
Yeah. They're going to be. It's going to be a photo finish. I was over there a couple weeks ago, and it was a lot of stuff roped off. But yeah, I'm with you, Nick.
Well, I thought you were talking about my over under.
That too.
It might be.
Yeah. I'm with you though. Like it's Vandy. We all make jokes, but
2.5's crazy.
Clark Lee,
Alcorn.
Yeah, like he's not a complete bumbling idiot. Like they're gonna find 3 or 4, I think.
And guys, do y'all know this, right? Who their quarterback is?
The New Mexico State guy.
Yeah, Jerry Kill is now on their staff, and he brought over New Mexico State's quarterback. So I say that to remind you, November 2nd, that's at Auburn.
Thing possible.
At Auburn, Jerry Kill is coming for freeze again.
Wasn't that like November 2nd almost last year as well?
Yeah, it was late in the season. Yeah.
It was the week before Alabama.
It was
like November.
It was even later. This guy's a machine in the city of Auburn in November.
Dude, he was a Terminator who was sent from the future just to fuck with Hugh Freeze, and he's going to do it again on November 2nd. It's Diego Pavia and Jerry Kill at Auburn.
Oh, man. How awesome would that be if they did only have 2 wins in that Auburn? They went into Jordan Hare.
Dude,
I hope Diego Pavia calls it Jordan Hare the whole week.
Jordan Hare.
Yeah, dude, they beat that ass last year.
They did.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. They lined up and just ran over them.
Auburn kept trying to come back, and then they would just flex on them again and just run it right
in Auburn 6 plays.
Auburn kept trying to come back, aka just kept going 3 and out, and Jerry Kill's like, all right, I guess we're scoring again. Dude, watching that
like
game,
Steve Spurrier. Y'all got to stop us.
Maybe the most unexpected football game I can ever remember. 31-10, they beat Auburn, and
it wasn't that close.
No. Listen to this. Listen, they scored with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. They scored with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter to go up 24-7. Auburn goes down there with 5:29 and kicks a field goal.
Beautiful. Special.
6 plays, 43 yards. New Mexico State scores again with 1:59. They kicked a field goal
with 2 minutes left.
2 scores of New Mexico State.
That's some NCAA 25 shit right there. Where you're playing like a brother, and you're like, nah, fuck you, I'm scoring again.
New Mexico State had 228 yards on the ground.
Dude, when I tell y'all that I was watching that game with my father-in-law, and he was giggling the entire fourth quarter, that's not hyperbolic. He was
Peyton Thorne was not 15 of 19. He only had 4 incompletions.
He led them in rushing.
3 scores.
He led Auburn in rushing that game.
He had 17 for 74. I mean,
I
that's
hope Jerry Kill is awake right now, game planning for all this. Right now.
No, Jerry Kill was going to retire, and then Clark Lee called, and he would check the schedule, and he was like,
He's like,
"No,
I'm here, brother. I'll do it for free.
Star
dude.
Thomas scored twice for New Mexico
Oh
State.
man, that is so
I mean,
funny.
That is what a game. What a game.
Just
All right.
perfect, no notes. All right.
You want a hot take of if that first one wasn't a scorcher enough? We're going to Lexington, Kentucky,
Okay.
and we're going to take over 6.5 for the Wildcats. And here's my reasoning. They're going to go undefeated in the non-conference, including Louisville at home. That's 4-0. They get Vanderbilt at 5 wins. I've got to get 2 more. They host Auburn after Auburn goes to Missouri, and Auburn's going to go to Missouri after a bye, and they're going to beat Missouri. Then they're going to go to Lexington, which is a night game on the schedule, and get that ass whipped. That is just prime Hugh Freeze. This will be like 30-7, and he'll have to explain it to all his folks, and that's the thing. And so we're at 6 there. I got to get 1 more. There's another one on the schedule.
I love that.
They got South Carolina at home. They host Georgia, but that's a wash. They'll lose that. They go to Florida. They could win at Florida this year, especially with Florida's schedule.
The game is always weird too.
Yeah, they've got Georgia, at Ole Miss, at Tennessee, and at Texas, and then after that, there's not a team on their schedule they can't beat.
Well, it says something when those are virtually 4. I mean, we're talking 7.5 or greater point spreads. So we're talking they're 4 guaranteed losses, and their win total is still over 6.5.
Yeah, you got a game and a half to play with. I like that. I like that a lot.
Hell yeah!
Getting Louisville at home's big.
Yeah. Well, if they didn't, here's the thing, man. On these win totals, if you get Vanderbilt, you've got 5 built-in wins as an SEC team. I mean,
they only have 4 road games too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a good pick.
I'll lose. I suck at win totals. So
they play Murray State, Southern Miss, and Ohio. Like Southern's supposed to be pretty bad, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Ohio is like a pretty decent MAC
Southern
team.
named a starter last week, some transfer from Florida State, and their fans have no idea who he was. They're like, "Who is this guy?" So I don't even know the name of the quarterback that they.
That sounds like us looking at Mississippi State's roster.
Seriously.
I'm saving that for last.
All right, Austin.
Austin,
right.
2 picks.
In keeping with the theme, yeah. So last year, some of you may know, Texas was in the Big 12. All right. Texas entered the season with 2 NFL defensive tackles. They had 4 NFL wide receivers. They had a full complement of running backs, and their win total was 9.5 last year. All right. This year, Texas is not in the Big 12, as many of you will know. They lost those 2 NFL defensive tackles. They lost 4 of their top 5 wide receivers. Their quarterback is on the cover of NCAA 25, but their backup quarterback is releasing promos for the same game. So if things get dicey, who knows how that could play out, right? I mentioned Texas is no longer in the Big 12. They're in the SEC, and their win total is a win more than last year. We went from 10.5 at FanDuel and DraftKings. That is under all day, every day. Texas is good. I think they're going to be in the playoff. I think asking for 11-1, nope. Not going to do it.
It's 10.5, and they go to Michigan and host Georgia.
And they have Bama. And they go to A&M.
Oh, they could be really good and be 10-2.
They could be really good and be 8-4.
I was going to say,
just
for posterity sake here, these are win totals for the regular season.
That's right. Regular season.
Just so the listeners know. Yeah.
That's right.
You say they don't have Bama.
They don't? No, you're right. It's Georgia. Yeah.
Georgia has Bama.
So at Michigan, losable. I'm not saying they're going to lose, but that line will be 3 or less at Michigan, I assume. At Oklahoma.
Running back, didn't they?
I don't know.
Michigan.
They got Donovan Edwards.
Yeah. And Texas is down. Yeah, Texas is down 2 of their top 3.
Two running backs,
So Texas has Oklahoma. They just always lose to Oklahoma. So there's that. And then after Oklahoma, they get Georgia.
The next week.
Then the very next week, and they closed the
and
season
then they get
at A&M.
And dude, that right there, and shout out to our boy Steven Hartzell. Look, some cross promotion here. If you're not a listener of college sports now, I highly recommend it. They do a couple shows a week, and it's good stuff. They had Roddy Jones on the show this week, former running back at Georgia Tech, works for ESPN, and he was talking about how different it's going to be for Texas, where you're not playing in Ames anymore. You're not going, to Sleepy Lawrence where they let students in for free back in the day. Like, you're going to go to some hornet's nest. And I mean, that game in particular, and I think Roddy, I think was who said it. He was like, that Texas A&M team could be 5-6. They could be 6-5. They could be 4-7. It will be packed the fuck out, and they will be out for blood.
That place is going to be a war zone.
And Quinn Ewers will be in there like, what the hell is going on? And that's that weekend of Thanksgiving. That's very losable.
And Ewers has been injury prone. I think he's a good quarterback. I do, but like he gets banged up pretty easily, pretty often. And the other thing about Texas, man, we fall for this rope-a-dope every year. We get this amnesia. Like they're worth a shit for the first time in 20 years last year. And everybody acts like, Texas is back. Ignoring the fact Texas lost 2 of their biggest 3 games last year. They lost to OU. And they lost in the college playoff to Washington. I mean, Sark is a good coach. I don't think he's bad. But this idea that they've arrived such that they should be 10.5 and they're going to win 11 for certain, nah, under.
And now legally, the pole assassin can be in the building.
That's true.
Because she is married to Jeff Banks now.
Which makes me like the under even more. The monkey gets loose. Who knows what happens?
Yeah, that's a very good narrative. Not a narrative. Good storyline to follow. Quinn Ewers is kind of mid. How loud does that Manning noise get?
Loud.
They lost 5 top 2 NFL round draft picks as well.
Yeah,
like
and same with
tackles and receivers and
just to circle back to an earlier topic. Same thing with Florida, man. If Graham Mertz is good and Florida is losing games, they will be pounding the DJ Lagway drum.
Oh yeah.
I like that. All right. Snake back around. Who you got for the final one?
All right. Y'all should see this one coming. The LSU Tigers are, what's the latest number?
9.
Just I lost it.
you can get 9.5 at plus. You get 9 at plus 100 or plus 110. 9
I
flat.
like the hook.
I got it.
Well, you can get that at plus 176.
So I want to go under 9.5.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. What...
For similar reasons, as with Texas and as with Notre Dame, like you lose pieces. These pieces matter. Again, maybe their defense does get better. Maybe it's actually decent. Their offense is going to take a step back. It just will. I don't think that they're going to adequately replace Daniels and the receivers. I think Nussmeier might be pretty good. I'll believe it when I see it. Their schedule actually sets up decently for them in terms of just when they play the teams that they play. But if you told me that USC beat them in week 1, I would not be shocked by that.
Yeah, that's a big one for your. If they lose that, they're not. I mean, they're under.
Yeah, no.
So then, of course, they've got Ole Miss in Baton Rouge. They got to go to A&M. They've got Bama in Baton Rouge, and they have Oklahoma in Baton Rouge. So of that group, I need to find 3.
It's a good day to be an LSU season ticket holder.
I'm telling you, man, what a great home schedule. Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma.
Oh, and UCLA, by the way.
Yeah.
Just for not a great team, but a fun matchup.
Mm.
They played both California schools,
I know.
Big Ten schools.
Both Los Angeles schools, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Anyway,
so
under 3. I just
9.5.
Again, I don't think under 9.5. I don't think they're going to be bad. I'd love it if they were, but I don't see 10. I don't see them running the table to 10.
I don't see how you bounce back with losing Daniels. I mean, what did they do the year after this? They lost Burrow.
Yeah, right.
I mean, a better coach, obviously, but I mean, there's going to be regression. How many plays did Daniels extend last year with his feet?
So we talked about last week.
What is this
Everyone
win
says they've got the
total?
best.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say everyone says they've got the best offensive line in the country, and that's possible they do, man. And maybe they got 5 guys going in the top 10 picks. But I mean, how much better do their stats look because they had a really mobile quarterback as well? I mean, I think they probably got some good offensive linemen, but I don't know that it's the best in the country if you put like a regular quarterback behind there.
I mean,
Agreed.
yeah, because there were a ton. I mean, not even the extended plays. I mean, the Missouri game, Jaden Davis, and there were so many games that he just willed them, just dragged them across the finish line.
Yeah.
I like
Sorry,
that
Ben.
pick.
What were you saying?
No, I was just saying, what's the win total here if they play at Ole Miss and at Alabama? You know what I'm
That's a
saying?
good
Like,
question. Yeah. 8.
8.5, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The benefit.
We'll find out if Tiger Stadium's really magic, I guess.
what a great home slate. I'm sure they're scheduled for all night games against those teams too.
It's ridiculous.
They do not have. I will tell you this: looking at their entire schedule, the only because if you're playing a morning game already or not, the only morning game they have is at South Carolina. Every home game is slated for either afternoon or night. Yeah, it's Ole Miss is at night, Alabama is either one, Vanderbilt's at night, and Oklahoma's either one. So
I wish Ole Miss fans drank alcohol. Then maybe we could get night games.
One day.
Yeah.
One day.
Something to aspire to.
If only Kiffin had killed a guy instead of just like hanging out in bars.
All right, are we ready for the Mississippi State pick?
I'm reacting, but I was literally thinking of making the same joke.
All right. So back when the line was 3.5. All right. Before I get to all that, let's talk about State for a minute. State's starting quarterback is Blake Shapen. Okay. Does anybody know how many touchdowns? Do what?
Did he tear us up a couple years ago?
Was that him?
Yeah, he played at Baylor.
Was it him?
It was.
I don't know if that was him though. Yeah, but was that him in the Sugar Bowl?
I think it was. All right.
I don't know.
Let me double check.
Did he tear us up? Or I mean,
No, it was Bohannon.
It
was Gary Bohannon from Arkansas.
All right.
Which he didn't carve up Ole Miss.
All right, let's talk about Blake Shapen for a minute. How many touchdowns has Blake Shapen thrown in his career?
16.
No, he started longer than that, but 36 total touchdowns. Okay. This guy, that's like one season for a great starter, or maybe a season in a few games. Blake Shapen has been a 2-3 year starter. 36 total touchdowns. He's going to come in. Does anybody know Mississippi State's best receiver's name?
Nope.
I saw him on Twitter today. He's a guy in a maroon jersey.
He's as good as Luther Burden, apparently.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, STFU, according to that guy.
Okay, so they got a transfer from UTEP. We know all about those.
Okay.
Named
wide receiver,
Kelly Akari.
Okay, I've heard of that guy. I have heard of that guy.
Okay, but he's not their best transfer. Their transfer is a center from North Texas named Ethan Minor. All right. The people who are competing for starting jobs against State or at State are like a transfer running back from Utah State, receivers from UTEP. They've got linemen from North Texas. Okay. We all know this is, I'm not saying this because it's Mississippi State and they're our rival, but let's look at Ole Miss baseball in 2023. Okay. Where were our best players or the spring of 24? Where were our best players from or our transfers from? They were from like the guy from Duke was really good or whoever, but the guys from like Division II and, Wofford and all that stuff, they looked like players from Wofford. So no offense to them.
We had some UTEP ass wide receivers on that baseball team.
Correct. We all know what a UTEP ass wide receiver looks like on the football team. Matter of fact, we may have their best transfer. Was it, or is that San Antonio? Either one. Like the best transfer you could get from that level. He can hardly see the field for us. Zachary Franklin, was that his name?
Yeah.
So I say that to say nobody even knows who these guys are, right?
He is still, not to interrupt, crazy stat. Zachary Franklin is still the active leader in total touchdowns in college football.
He's at Illinois this year with Altmaier, right?
Yeah.
I think that's
Could
right.
not. Could not. I mean, I think he may have caught a touchdown at Auburn.
One touchdown. Yeah.
Touchdown at Auburn. That was it.
Yeah. But look, we all know what Lane Kiffin likes to do, and he loads the ball into his best player's hand 100 times a game, but he gets people open, and that guy who we all would agree is probably a better player than this transfer from. That's not why I'm basing that on this stuff. All right, so State at 3.5, it was a lock for me that I'm going over, right? I am going over 3.5. If you can find it at 3.5, you have to take the over. SEC teams just don't go 3-9 anymore. They just don't go 3-9 anymore. But at this point, it's an even 4. Okay. And that is a sharp number. And the problem that you have is here in State schedule, they miss Vanderbilt. And I believe, they don't have, all right, we'll just go through it. Okay. Eastern Kentucky, that's a win. It's the Jeff Levy welcome party. All right.
Let me interrupt you real quick. 4.5. I see 4.5 at both.
Yeah, 4.5.
Okay. So the 4.5 line, oh, you can get that at 100. Okay. I'm going to take under 4.5. I have to do it. I was going to take over 3.5. I was, because I think 4 is the actual correct number here.
Yeah, I think I did too. Yeah.
I mean, they're either going 3-1 in the non-conference because they play at Arizona State, which is a losable game.
Mm-hmm.
God, I mean, they host Toledo. That's not anyway.
When is that Arizona State game?
Second week 2.
Oh, it's still gonna be hot.
Yeah, in Tempe.
And that's a different.
Yeah,
they're kicking at 9:30 Central.
Oh, it'll still be 98.
Yeah. All right. State has Texas, Georgia, A&M, and Arkansas in consecutive. Well, they get a bye before Georgia, but who cares about that? They go to Texas. They get a bye. They play Georgia. That's another loss at Georgia, by the way. Then they come back home and play A&M and Arkansas after playing Georgia. In a normal, like let's say they played Eastern Kentucky and then they hosted A&M, maybe, or Arkansas, I could see that. But after the body blows of going to Athens and coming back and playing A&M and then playing Arkansas, that is a that's a tall ask, and that is a prime Sam Pittman could come in and win. My point is if they find a way to go 4-0 in the non-conference and win at Arizona State, we still have to find another win on the schedule.
Okay. If they go 4-0, they got Florida and Arkansas both in Starkville.
They're not beating Florida.
You feel comfortable in that? In Arkansas, Sam Pittman's not going to be the coach at Arkansas by this
I think 4 is the right number.
They may be better then.
Okay, let's say this. Let's say they go 3-1 in the non-conference. They lose at Arizona State. All right.
I mean, Arizona State, I think is bad. I just think you're in trouble with your hope is that they don't go 4-0 or they go 0-8 in the SEC. And I just think that's asking a lot.
Well, they catch every good team in the SEC, every single one of them but Alabama. They play Ole Miss, Missouri, Tennessee, Arkansas, A&M, Ole Miss, Missouri, Tennessee, A&M, Georgia, and Texas. Like, this is a brutal
It's a tough schedule outside of
schedule.
Arkansas.
At 4.5, though, you can't take 5. You can't take 5 there.
Here's the thing. They are paper thin. We don't know their starters. Can you imagine who these backups are on this team? Let's say they lose a tackle at Georgia. It's over. It's over. Like,
I think the best option here is to take over 4.
What? Okay.
I don't think they're going 3.
Well, that was going to be my original play, and then Austin enticed me at the 4.5, and I just got to go under.
The 4.5 is out there.
What? Okay, real quick, Nick. You mentioned
number.
You mentioned Arizona State being bad.
I'm seeing their win total at 4.5.
And
Arizona State.
Arizona State could very well be bad. Okay, how good was Cal last year?
Okay, but conversely, how good was Arizona last year?
Right, but like Mississippi State caught every single break in that game and still almost lost.
Arizona State's win total is 4.5, by the way, with Wyoming, Cincinnati, and BYU on the schedule. and Texas State. Excuse me. So they think they were a pretty awful team,
right? And this isn't me making a case for the Sun Devils to be good. I'm just saying, road game
I know.
early in the
Road
year.
game. Yeah.
You've got that long trip that I've done that flight tons of times. It's just long enough to where you're sitting on a plane for a little bit.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. But what's MSU? They've circled that they want to win 6, right? I mean, that's the goal of any team in the first year. Okay, but I mean, they gotta have it. We all have
They can
goals.
circle it, Nick, but like
They've circled 6 games, and one of those is Arizona State. They've got to open the season 3-0, and I think they're aware of that fact. They've got to open the season in Eastern Kentucky, Arizona State, and Toledo. Got to be 3-0 if they want to have any chance of doing something crazy like beating Arkansas. Oh, crazy!
Conversely,
UMass, and then one more.
To use your word, we've got their 2 winnable home games are coaches who are coaching for their jobs, right? And so Napier, you want to talk about circling games? Florida has circled Mississippi State.
That's fair.
Like with all the
State is not beating.
What you're saying is you don't believe in dime time.
Showtime and Start Vegas. Look,
He doesn't believe that Levy's going to pull up at Arizona State and win.
Yeah,
We need the graphic.
They,
I wish we had the graphic to flash across.
Maybe they win 5. They did get Stone Blanton from South Carolina. I forgot about that.
I need to know the Arizona State MSU line.
Can we find it?
I would love to take MSU.
See, here we go. It's already starting.
Yeah.
This is what happens.
I see it's an SEC team against an old Pac-12 team. It's just until I saw what MSU did last year with a significantly better Arizona team. Yeah, they got a lot of breaks. They had 5 turnovers from the quarterback. They hadn't really finalized who the QB was going to be at that time, and it was in Starkville. But it was a significantly better Arizona team.
The one thing that brings me pause in this is the intangible of the new coach bump. That's it.
Okay. Nick, do you want to hear this?
NCB. What's that?
This is betarizona.com.
Seems legit. Yeah, go ahead.
Arizona State +6.
Ooh.
See, that's what I'm saying. Now I wouldn't touch that, obviously.
Okay. They go 4-0 in the non-conference. Let's find another game. Let's find another win.
I'm just saying.
They did play Arkansas close. Like, did they beat Arkansas in Fayetteville?
Yeah, it was like 10-6 though.
7-6, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Arkansas had 32 chances to win the game and couldn't do it.
It was 7-3.
7-3.
Whatever it was.
Oh my God.
Nick,
they beat them. MSU beat them.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is you don't just walk into Mountain America Stadium and get a dub.
Well, I could have had 100 guesses winning on that.
That state team had Will Rogers.
Yep.
They had
It was a veteran
Johnson.
team. Yeah.
They had
Jet Johnson was finishing up his PhD. He was there.
He's actually getting a vet degree. No kidding.
Oh yeah.
Who is this?
The guy who intercepted. You remember he almost picked 6 Corral, or maybe he did. And
he jumped the slant route, but he got tackled.
That's right.
People forget we won that Egg Bowl soundly, and had that play not happened, that game was headed for like 43-10.
Yeah. Right. All right. Enough with MSU.
So we're under 4.5. Man, I'm going 0-3 again in this. I hate my picks.
I got 3-0 on this one. This one's my favorite. I picked them last year, actually. So over, let me get the number right here. Over 10.5. I went with 2 unders on bad teams. Over 10.5 on Georgia. I'm seeing it at 122. Yeah. Tell me, okay, yes, I acknowledge that there are 3 teams, 4 teams.
Georgia plays at Texas, at Ole Miss, and at Alabama.
I agree with you. If they're
so they lose in Tuscaloosa, they have to win out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I just until Georgia loses to
they open with Clemson, and they're going to beat Clemson.
They open with Clemson. They go to Texas, they go to Bama, they go to Ole Miss. But I saw those teams last year. I think we're significantly better, and we're going to still be what, like a 6 or 7 point underdog.
Probably 9.5, really. And
Yeah.
The other team.
It's not that they're not going to do it.
Right.
Those are just losable. Like, they can't lose to State.
Very losable.
They can lose at Texas.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, the thing is that I've got a free one. I've got one in there. Like, they can lose one of those games. I just don't see, like, let's say they beat Alabama. And earlier, I mean, Austin picked, obviously, against Texas. There's clearly, we don't think Texas is going to be as good as a lot of people think. I don't think Ole Miss is beating them. I'd love to be wrong. I would happily lose this bet for Ole Miss to be their second loss of the season. But, I mean, I need to see Kalen DeBoer in his first year beat Georgia. I need to see Lane Kiffin win a really big game against a team that's better than them. No, I mean, I'm not
Tom Fernelli.
Downing Kiffin. I'm saying, like,
take it easy over there, Tom.
Before we did,
I need to see Lane Kiffin beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers before I can
listen. Until he wins a national championship, I'm not sure he can win a national championship.
Right.
Yeah. Here's Ben brought it up, and I want to mention it here. The schedule is rough because of the preseason hype around all these teams that are college football playoff contenders. Georgia plays what, 3 of the top 5 like consensus playoff teams? Texas, Ole Miss, and Bama.
Yeah.
Whether or not
Clemson, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Clemson makes a playoff.
I mean, why is Georgia ducking Oregon?
No, I took the under in Clemson. I don't think they will. But
Clemson's going to lose at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I mean, I'm sorry. Georgia's going to lose at Mercedes-Benz Stadium to Clemson.
They're not going to lose. But what if Clemson bangs them around a little bit? Like, what if
they're not going to? That's right.
Okay,
look, they're as likely to lose to Clemson as they are to Georgia Tech.
Do they play at Neyland Stadium too?
Not.
They play in Tennessee.
The Jackets are going to be all right.
No, it's at Athens.
Here's the thing: you can do this with a lot of teams. You can do this with a lot of teams, but Georgia specifically, if someone rolls up Carson Beck, they're screwed.
He's good though. I mean, he
is very good. He gets the ball out quick. He's a stud, but accidents happen.
Right.
Like, I'm not wishing it to happen, obviously, but I'm just saying, who's the backup quarterback at Georgia? Is it
Rashada?
Jaden Rashada, or it's Gunnar Stockton?
Rashada may have a deposition that week.
In fairness, you could say that about any school, nearly.
I know, and I did say that, but
except maybe Texas. I mean, Quinn Ewers goes down; they've got Arch Manning.
Hey,
us.
Ole Miss, yeah.
Ole Miss has got
deep QB room.
So Nick's probably going to be right here, but it is a tough ask to keep doing it over and over. Like, it's hard.
Yeah, it's tough. That's 3 crazy road games. Like, that is outlandish. Imagine if those were our 3 road games at Georgia, at Bama, at Texas. In this season, we'd be like, 8-4. Like, that's crazy. And at Kentucky, don't forget about that one.
Yeah. All right. Last one here. I was going to go – this is an Ole Miss podcast. I was going to do Ole Miss, but look, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think Ole Miss is going 11-1. So there you go.
Picked over then. Let's go.
No, I want to get kind of fun here. I'm gonna go.
That would be fun. That'd be really fun.
Can confirm. Fun as in let's go outside the box here a little bit. I'm gonna go to Blacksburg and I'm gonna crank up Inner Sandman, and I am going over 8.5 for the Hokies.
That's a good pick.
Man, that's a lot
of a lot of great teams on that schedule.
It is a lot of wins. I like them, but damn, that's a high. I didn't know it was that high.
I feel like they could sneaky be pushing to get to Charlotte for the ACC title game.
You know what would be really funny if it burned you? They go to Old Dominion in week 3.
Old Dirty.
They lost there before. They lost there before.
you want to talk about a house of horrors. Cornblaw Field at SB Ballard, that's tough. You got Vandy to start, win. Marshall, win. Let's say they beat Old Dirty. You got Rutgers.
Rutgers is
Miami.
going to be good, by the way. I'm just telling
Yeah,
you, Rutgers is going to be good.
Rutgers will be solid. They got old Gavin Wimsatt up there. Miami, tough.
Mm-hmm.
At Stanford, weird, but should win. Boston College, win. Georgia Tech, tough, but probably a win.
Mm-hmm.
Syracuse, it's up there in the JMA wireless, but I think that's a win. And then you got Clemson, Duke, and Virginia to close out. I think you win 2 of those. I mean, we're looking at
they're only 4.5 to Clemson right now.
Yeah. So
see if they beat Clemson, it's a lock there. I mean, that game's in Blacksburg.
Yeah, and what's Clemson look like November 9th? That's another thing to consider. So, like the spunky teams in the ACC, not named Virginia Tech, are Georgia Tech, Duke, and Syracuse. And I think
Duke is going to be ass, man.
I think they'll be fine. Like I'm not saying they're going to win like 8 games, but I think they'll be serviceable. But like I think Virginia Tech's better than all 3 of those teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like Kyron Drones. I think he's a stud. Yeah, I don't know. I like Virginia Tech. I think they're going to be sneaky good. Brent Key's got a good thing going up there. They've got the quarterback finally. I feel like for years they just couldn't ever get a quarterback. Yeah, Drones is good. I mean, Ole Miss recruited him out of high school. The thing that the continuity is the big thing. The roster is largely intact from last year. Of the 29 who returned, they played. Of the 29 who played at least 300 snaps last year, 25 are back. So that does help. And then you get the defensive tackle from Duke, Aeneas Peebles, and then Sam Brumfield's a linebacker from Middle Tennessee. Ole Miss was recruiting him. So Pete Golding liked him a lot. He ended up going to VT. I think it's solid. I like the quarterback situation, and Brent Key's going to have a good defense.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I like him a lot against Vandy. Under 2 touchdowns. That's an easy lay.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, I
can't wait till we start picking weekly because I suck on win totals.
What, Nick, real quick, because I didn't write it down and I just completely lost train of thought. Who was your last lock?
Georgia, over 10.5.
Okay.
Nobody picked Ole Miss. Should I delete my state pick and go over an Ole Miss for the culture?
Sure. You want to do that?
What is the total?
9.5.
9.5.
God, that's so high. Let's do it. Let's do it for the culture. And I'll do a 1-minute rundown. If Ole Miss wins at LSU, 11-1 is on the table. Ole Miss has 2 losses on the schedule, in my opinion, at LSU and Georgia at home. I think even with those losses at 10-2, Ole Miss is going to make the college football playoff as like the 7 or the 8 seed and will host a first-round game in Oxford. That's what I think. That's my prediction. Hot take, whatever. But it's not because LSU is better than Ole Miss, and it's not because Tiger Stadium at night. I just think that's a hard spot for our team right there, and it's going to be the first red. Now, if you are going to go down there and win at night, you're going to do it with a senior quarterback who's a good leader, and Jackson Dart is the guy for the job. And we have a good defense that could keep us in and do it. And LSU's going to have a first-year starter at quarterback as opposed to last year when they had the literal best deep ball passer in the history of college football with 2 first-round receivers. So with that said, but they still have great players. Mason Taylor, they're going to have, I guess, a good offensive line, whatever, and they've got a great coach. Ed Orgeron's not their head coach anymore. I mean, yes, he had the greatest college football team ever, but Brian Kelly is not a bad coach. They'll be ready for us. But with that said, I do like the fact that they have, and I know this is me rambling, I do like the fact that LSU has some quasi like blue blood programs before, like early in the season in USC, that they can't spend all off season preparing for Ole Miss is what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
And we can pretty much spend all season preparing for Kentucky, South Carolina, and LSU. And so, because our first four games are a wash. So I think 10-2 is a very real chance. And even if you win at LSU, that gives you some leeway to, you could slip up at Arkansas or at Florida or at South Carolina and still cover it. I think if you're going to LSU and winning, that team's going to be built different and they're going to win the rest of those games.
Mm-hmm.
It's typically how that happens. But I think you're still covering 9.5. So I think Ole Miss at 10-2, you can pull State off for me and put Ole Miss at 10-2. I think that's a safe pick.
While we're doing stuff for the culture, just so I have it on record, so people can't say that I didn't say this, Ole Miss is gonna beat that ass in Death Valley. I'm saying it.
I will say this: sometimes Zach says that stuff, and I think he's an idiot. I really do, and then it happens like every time. I'm like, dude.
I said they'd go 10-2 last year.
He's like the Schwab, man.
I got a feeling of all the reasons that you just said. Senior quarterback, loaded defensive line, loaded offensive weapons. I don't think the defense gets talked about enough on the back end. I think the secondary is going to be really good. And again, LSU did nothing to fix their defense, nothing to fix the secondary. Jackson Dart, I please God come out in a murdered out visor in the Jordan 11s. I mean, put the damn playoff J's on.
Zach is torqued
with the skull cap.
Oh, baby. If he wears a skull cap, it's a wrap. This team is built to win the big.
I had to put my hat on. Dart comes out like shaved, slick head, Brian Urlacher with a skull cap on over that.
Like Nick said, I know he was saying it kind of joking, but kind of not. Like Kiffin's got to win one of those really big games. Maybe he doesn't get the Georgia game, but I think that LSU game is going to be like the rubber stamp. Everybody will shut up about Lane Kiffin doing that for once.
Here's what I'll say on the LSU game real quick is and we got a long ways till that game happens, but like,
are you gonna pour some cold water on us right now?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't think an Ole Miss team that's 10-2 goes to the playoff. I guess that's my cold water. I think there's a log jam. Let me get there. I think there's a log jam at 10-2. I think you could see Texas there, Bama there, Georgia there, heck, maybe even Missouri. My point is that I just don't know that there's enough spots at 10-2. I say that to say Ole Miss can't lose 2 games. Ole Miss can't lose to LSU because they've still got Georgia on the schedule. I don't think we're losing LSU because we know we still got Georgia on that schedule. I just don't see. I don't. There's too many good. There's not enough spots. There's 12 spots out there, and there could be 4 or 5 SEC teams. And the same thing in the Big
4 or 5
Ten.
SEC teams.
You're saying 10-2
Ole Miss is the third one.
Be a top 12 team.
At 10-2, I think. Well, first of all, it's really probably top 11 and possibly like top 10, depending on conference champions. My point is that at 10-2, if Ole Miss has got losses to LSU, what if LSU is one of those teams that they're battling with? I don't think Ole Miss is going to have enough good wins. Don't freak out at what I'm saying. I'm saying I think there's going to be a big log jam at 10-2. I think Ole Miss is going to want to do everything to avoid being 10-2, and I think they will avoid being 10-2 by going 11-1. I just think, let's say LSU happens to be 10-2 also. We just lost to them. Let's say Georgia's 12-0. We lost to them. Okay, now we're definitely behind those 2 teams. Bama's got 1 loss. Texas has got 2 losses, but Texas is, beating someone else that we haven't. My point is to say, like, I think a 10-2 has a lot of lost tiebreakers in there. And that what if LSU's also in there at 10-2 because they beat us? I just think there's a log jam. There's too many. I don't think the SEC is getting – I don't think they're getting 5. I think it's probably going to be 4. And I think at 10-2, we could easily be the 5th team in that pecking order. especially with a loss to LSU. But again, I don't think we're going 10-2. I think we're going 11-1 because we're going to beat LSU.
In your scenario, I think they would put 7 SEC teams in it before they put 4. Like I really
possibly, but you're going to have Michigan, who I think is going to be 1 or 2 losses. You don't think so? Also, no.
I just don't know how Michigan's going to score on people. Like, how do they score?
That's possible. That's possible. But I think you got Ohio State there, Oregon there, obviously.
Where do you
Penn State could have 2 losses. I think they're going to put the Big Ten's 3rd over the SEC's 5th. Or
Drew Aller is still the quarterback at Penn State, right?
I
agree.
Nick, in your scenario, what we would have to be rooting for is not really out of the Big Ten. It's we need the Big 12 to be dog shit and only their champion to get in.
Only one team, yeah.
Only one team.
But like this can be fixed in week 1 if USC beats LSU. If USC beats LSU, they're fine. But we're looking at LSU's schedule here. And
as if we needed another reason to root against LSU in week 1.
Right. Yeah. Right. I'm looking at just that. Okay, let's say LSU beats us and they lose to Bama. Okay. I'm not saying they're going 11-1. I'm just saying like they've got Oklahoma on the schedule and Texas A&M on the schedule.
So they have a very favorable schedule. People talk about very favorable schedule. It's not. I would trade hours with theirs.
100%. That's my problem when people say 10-2. Like if one of the losses is to LSU, that's one of the losses they don't have, and I think that's like part of the picture people are not realizing. LSU could very easily be 10-2 with a win over us if they beat us.
Where do you think the committee stands on like quality losses? Because I think in this scenario, if LSU beats this Ole Miss team, it's a damn good loss because that LSU team is probably going to be very good. And then your other loss is to 11-1 or 12-0 Georgia, I think that helps.
I mean, I agree with you. I just think looking around, everyone else could also be in that same scenario. And we're already behind Bama in the preseason. We're behind Georgia in the preseason. We're behind Texas in the preseason. If we lose to LSU, that's 4 teams right there we just counted. You know what I'm saying? That puts us at 5th in the SEC. And I'm not talking about a Missouri team. What if Missouri's 11-1? We're behind them either way. So there's an issue.
Look,
you big time root for USC in week 1. Big time.
I think there's a chance that a 10-2 Ole Miss gets in over an 11-1 Mizzou. Because Mizzou's schedule is trash.
It is bad.
Trash.
It's bad. I see what you're saying. The optics of that, because also 11-1 Missouri team is probably in the SEC title game. You know, I think that's maybe not. Maybe it's 7-1.
There's another scenario.
Yeah, that's a problem.
The 10-2 team that goes to Atlanta and then has a 3rd loss.
If there's a 6-2 team that makes it to Atlanta, they're going to get every single call in that. I mean, they better get every single call in that game. Because if you have 3 losses, that's where I think the conundrum comes in of like, what do we do with the team that, like, let's say Ole Miss goes 10-2 and makes it the SEC title game and loses to Georgia again. It's like we penalizing that team for playing Georgia twice.
Like,
that'd be crazy. No.
Yeah.
Long ways there. Go Trojans.
It sucks that like it's going to come down to the LSU game and it's on the road.
That's why I think we beat them, because I think we know it comes down to it.
Well, look, this is what we said preseason group chat. We said, look, if you like the Ole Miss season win total over in real life, just bet them against LSU. That way you're not tying your money up for 12 weeks.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Just bet Ole Miss against LSU.
Especially because you're probably going to end up getting plus money.
I just think I got a feeling that Ole Miss hasn't won there since 08 when Jevin Sneed absolutely carved them up. And
We've only won there twice in the 2000s.
Yeah. So I think a lot. We talked about it. I think we talked about it last week. A lot of similarities with that 08 team with this team.
Yep.
So yeah, it's gonna be fun. And look, these are great. You talk about fun. Like, this is a fun conversation to have. Is 10-2 Ole Miss going to be good enough to get in the playoff? I mean, what a crazy world, a lot of smells. All right, so that's going to do it. Locks are in for win totals week 1 next week. We will have a jam-packed show. It'll be fun. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate everybody on the YouTube stream and everybody on the podcast stream. As always, remind you, Drew Moak, USA Benefits Group. You can see it on the ticker there if you're on YouTube. Cut those premiums 20 to 30%. Give them a call, 601-953-8449. And you can get a free quote. You can also check them out, usabg.com. HomeField.com/DMOAK. You know about Homefield. Last Dance 24 is the promo code. Rowback, the promo code is JUICE. And then, as always, College Corner. Appreciate y'all as well. Go check them out, collegecornerstore.com. Gentlemen, we are all the way back. I mean, we are so back. So fun. Happy to be joined by y'all. We will return next week for week 1. So for Ben over there, for Austin, for Nick, Jesus Christ. That's going to wrap it up for Hit That Line here on the Flagship. Till next week, we out of here.